taken me a year to make this video. I've wanted to make this video for a year, but I think I needed all of this time to process it all. My birth story is a positive one, but it was not the one that I had planned at all. And I think that if you're preparing for a birth, you need to be prepared for a birth that doesn't go according to plan. And I knew this. I knew this during pregnancy. I knew this before pregnancy, but I just didn't know that mine would go so far in the opposite direction. I wasn't prepared at all. I didn't listen to all sorts of birth stories. I only listened and read kind of the ones that I wanted to have. And looking back, I think I wish I knew. My baby is the most beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, healthy, happy thing that I've ever seen in my life. And I would not trade what I learned and what I got out of the experience in the end for anything. She's healthy and safe, and that is all that I care about, really. But for my next baby, God willing, I would want what I wanted, if I'm going to be honest. So let's just get into it. We had planned for a home birth. I always wanted a home birth. I think that it's like such a lovely way to bring a baby into the world. And when we started making our home very like lovely and cozy, I definitely knew that this was the place that I would have my baby. It's just so cozy. I feel obviously so at home here. And we've just made the space so warm and inviting. There's so many like little knickknacks and like lovely memorabilia from like beautiful moments in life. And like I just wanted to be surrounded by all of that in order to feel as comfortable and calm as I can be to labor and to birth a new life into this world. So that coupled with just fear of hospitals, I think I've had very negative experiences in hospitals many times in my life. Just like the lighting is so bad. That's not the only reason I'm scared of hospitals, but it is very bad lighting. I just can't understand it. I guess it has to be like very like sterile and like everyone has to be able to see what they're doing, I guess. But someone's got to sort it out for the birthing mothers, because it's not the one. Yeah, I think the huge contrast between what my home is like and what a hospital is like is massively different. I also wanted a home birth because I wanted to experience what women for thousands and thousands of years and generations have experienced with birth and the circle of life. That being said, I wanted to have a pain medication-free birth, and obviously I wanted a vaginal birth. I like to avoid saying the word natural birth for like a vaginal pain medication-free birth, because all birth is natural. Like it's all natural that we've come into this world. It's all natural that we have developed as a human race to create all of this technology and medication to birth children safely or babies safely. And so I find it all natural, but yeah, I just wanted to feel everything. I wanted to know what it was like for, all the women before me. But I got none of that. And though my pregnancy was super, super smooth all throughout, on the 38th week, so I'm now full term, everything's going smooth and dandy. Everything had been smooth sailing up until this point. We had already blown up the birthing pool in my apartment to test it out and make sure that, we understood how it would go on the day of. On the 38th week, my midwife came to my home for an appointment, routine appointment. It all went like all well. But at the very end, she said, "Do you have any other questions for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I was wondering why I get so itchy at night." And I thought she was going to say something like, "Oh, it's just the pregnancy hormones, like they fluctuate this and that way, and a lot of women get itchy. It's like normal." I was expecting that answer, and that's the answer that I wanted. But instead she said, Where are you itchy?" And I said, "On my feet and on my nipples, like only for like 5 minutes, and then I just go to sleep, and then when I wake up, it's gone." And she said, "I'm just gonna run some tests if that's okay with you." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I asked briefly, like, what are you testing for? And she said, "There's something called cholestasis of pregnancy, and it affects South Asian women, South and Southeast Asian women more than other women. So I just want to rule it out." Wait, did I say what it was called? It's called cholestasis of pregnancy. And I was like, "Okay, sure." And for my whole pregnancy, my approach was to cross the bridge when it comes. So like I wasn't gonna like jump the gun and like start panicking and thinking about like, "Oh my God, what if I have this thing? What is it? Blah, blah, blah," before actually getting it. So I didn't think anything of it. I thought, I'll just wait for her call. The next day, and the next day was the day that we were getting a stove installed in our fireplace, to like have a wood burning fire, to make it cozy for my birth. Had like all these like dust sheets all over the house, people coming in and out, like mud coming in and out of the house. I get the call. My midwife calls me and she's like, "Hey, that thing that we tested for yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "You have it." And I was like, "Okay," still trying not to panic. "What does that mean for me?" And she was like, "Well, do you have your hospital bags packed?" And I was like, "Yeah." Luckily I did. And she was like, "You need to go to the hospital now. And what they're going to do is they're going to attach the baby to the monitor and make sure the baby's breathing and heart rate is all good." Sorry, not breathing. Babies don't breathe in there. Make sure the baby's heart rate is all good. And they're probably going to take your bloods again and make sure that the levels are, I don't know. They're probably going to take your bloods again and they're going to tell you to induce like today. And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, I'm not going to the hospital right now to be induced. Like there's a stove being installed in my fireplace. Like I wasn't mentally prepared for this at all. Like what?" And she was like, "You know what? Just like don't go with your bags. Just go to the hospital, do this like monitor immediately, and then make decisions while you're there." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So my husband and I went to the hospital immediately, attached ourselves to this monitor. Baby's heart rate was fine, thank God. But they did take my bloods, and the results of the bile acids that were now in my blood. So cholestasis is a transient liver disease of pregnancy. It gets resolved as soon as you have the baby, but basically, if I'm saying this correctly, your liver stops processing things properly. And so the bile goes into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream then affects your placenta. So your placenta, like, stops working, essentially. This is like worst case scenario. And then your baby doesn't get any oxygen. And the scariest thing is the risk of stillbirth is higher. So that's how it functions, I guess. And where was I? Oh yeah, my bile acids were very, very high. I don't want to give specific numbers, but it was like way over what it was supposed to be. And so, of course, the doctors in there and the midwives in there recommended that I immediately induce as soon as possible. But my husband and I were like, "Hang on, this doesn't make any sense. You're telling us on one hand the baby's heart rate is fine and everything looks fine, but on the second hand, you're telling us to throw our entire birth plan in the trash, basically, and like induce right now without like asking more questions." So we were like very confused and truthfully like wanting to have clearer answers and a clearer picture. And, we called my doula, And my doula had experienced or had a client that had cholestasis in the past who didn't induce and just waited for her labor to come, or for the baby to decide to come when it wanted to. And everything turned out fine with her. So we were like, hang on, I don't want to be pushed into like an induction that I didn't want, because I knew, and everything that I had read up until then told me that if you have your birth in the hospital, the likelihood that you're going to have more and more interventions on top of each other like is much, much higher than if you start at home. So I was like, I'm not going to start in the hospital for sure. No. I want my birth plan. I want it. And yeah, I just wanted to ask loads of questions, and I wanted to see what the actual risk was if the baby's heart rate was fine. So we spoke to a doctor, and he said, the risk is stillbirth. It is higher than the risk of stillbirth if you didn't have this pregnancy disease, which is 3%. So it's like double what the rate is in our country, I guess, which is like 1.5. But if you have cholestasis, it's 3%. So still it's double the percentage and the risk, but it is still only 3%. So to me, it didn't like really make sense to throw everything out the window and have all of these other interventions, which would have all of these other risks associated to me and the baby, in order to like not be that 3%. So like I was like, how do I weigh out the risks? But that doctor said, you know what, if you really don't feel like having the induction today, my advice is to go home, be very aware of like how often the baby is kicking, and then come back tomorrow, get attached to the heart rate monitor again, and then make a decision tomorrow. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a good and reasonable, not panicky plan. And so we did that, but right away I knew like this isn't going to work, because I was so anxious after just like every little kick. Even the baby did kick. I was like, did they kick hard enough? Like, are they weakening in there and like wanting to be attached to the monitor like immediately? So I had the worst night's sleep ever. And when we got up in the morning to go to the hospital to check my bloods, I already knew in my heart that I like wanted to induce or start the induction that day, because I just like I didn't feel like it was worth not just like the risk of stillbirth, but the risk of being extremely anxious for the next few weeks. Like I was only 38 weeks. I was expecting this baby to come at like 42, 43 weeks. It's my first baby. For like a whole month. Like imagine for a whole month being like, is the baby moving? Is the baby moving? So yeah, we agreed to this induction. And the induction, I'm going to save like the gory details, because like it ramped up very, very quickly for me. Basically, I had done the induction gel once, started getting contractions, and then we did another induction gel because the cervix wasn't opening at all, though I was having contractions. And then the second gel like took me too far. I was having like 3 contractions a minute, like extremely aggressive contractions. And I was like projectile vomiting from the pain, but my cervix still wasn't opening. Like I think I got to like 2 centimeters dilated before I was like, I can't do this. Mind you, I was refusing all of the pain medication. This is like maybe like 12 hours into the experience. I was refusing pain medication because I wanted to cling on to any aspect of my birth plan, and like being not medicated for pain was part of my birth plan. But I didn't realize that induction labor is very, very different to labor that comes upon naturally. I mean, I didn't want to use the word naturally, but you know what I mean? Non-induction labor. I didn't realize that they're very different. Your body, and I felt this, gets time to realize what's happening, I guess, and it like releases a host of other hormones that come in to help, so that you are like almost like spaced out enough and like in the zone, and like there's like almost like adrenaline and like oxytocin and things that make you not feel like you're experiencing the full breadth of feeling and pain that labor and contractions can ramp up to. But with induction labor, it all just happens hard and fast, and like you don't get that time to calibrate. And I didn't know this because, of course, I didn't look into induction labor at all. I just looked into nice home births that went successfully. And yeah, it was so intense. And I was like, I need an epidural. I actually can't do this. Sorry, my camera battery just died. Where was I? Epidural. So I was extremely scared of an epidural before this experience. I think it's terrifying to stick a giant needle into your spine, and the risks, which are very, very low, of that going wrong and you becoming paralyzed forever, is a risk. So I was terrified of that. But of course, the epidural went completely fine, and actually it was really lovely. It I don't know if you've ever had an epidural, but it is just such relief. It's like you feel the coldness like rush over your body, and you're just like, ah, especially after all that you are going through at that point. And I pushed it to the extreme. Like I was like screaming, feral, like vomiting, and that's when I got the epidural, and it was just so amazing. And so at this point, I was able to rest. I took a little sleep. And now it was just a waiting game. I think I got on the oxytocin drip as well to get things moving along. But in the end, things did not move along. And we were at a point where I was like 4 or 5 centimeters contracted. Contracted? That's not the word. Dilated. 4 or 5 centimeters dilated, which is like halfway to the point where you're supposed to get. But like technically you're like in official labor at 5 centimeters dilated. So, it was just about like, do I want to wait another, I don't know, at this point it was like 24 hours. I was like, okay, my rate is 24 hours, 5 centimeters. So do I have to wait another 24 hours? Which is not the case. Sometimes women will, do the last 5 centimeters in like 2 hours, 1 hour even. But I just I couldn't risk it taking that long, mostly because I was hungry. They don't let you eat food when you have the epidural, because in case you do go to C-section, they don't want your stomach to have food in it, I guess. So this was like, I was hours and hours not eating already. I wish I had the timestamps for you, but the whole experience was like 3 days. So I was like in labor for, I don't know why I did that. I was in labor for a very long time. And I was hungry. And I was like, I know there's sushi at the end of this. Like, how fast would a C-section be if I was to agree to C-section? And they were like 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I could have my baby and be eating sushi in like literally an hour tops. Like, what? So, I was tired. My partner was tired. My doula, who was there, was tired. And I was like, I think the best way to do this is to have a C-section. Like, the baby was contracting loads, which I thought was a good thing. But because the cervix wasn't opening, apparently her head was like pushing into everything. Everything was getting swollen. Like, apparently my labia was super swollen, but yeah, like around the cervix was swollen. The baby's head was getting swollen. Everything was swelling. So even if I did go, like, I had all of that to basically fight with. If I wanted to have a vaginal birth, I'd have to push through all of this swelling. So yeah, so I decided to have a C-section, and that was the easiest part of the whole thing. They were so fast. It was, sorry, I hear my baby babbling in the hall, and it's just so sweet. And yeah, hearing my baby cry through the curtain was like the most beautiful moment. Such a good, strong cry as well. And yeah. I turned to my husband. He was like, "It's a girl." We didn't know. We didn't know what gender the baby would be. And I was like, "Is it? Like, what did she look like?" And he was like us. And I thought that was the funniest thing. Obviously, she looks like us, but I was like, "Tell me more. Tell me more. How does she look like us?" And yeah, she was crying. And another really beautiful moment was I was like, go speak to her, because she's like all alone on this cold table. Not alone, she was with the midwife, obviously, but I was like, she's on the cold table, like, go and speak to her. And he said, "Hey, baby." And she immediately stopped crying because she recognized his voice. He spoke to her every night through the belly. So yeah, I thought that was a really beautiful moment as well. And then when I finally had the baby put on my chest, it was all worth it in the end. And she was fine. She was healthy. She's hearing, seeing, reacting properly. It's all smooth. So in terms of my birth going to plan, it did not at all go to plan. In terms of my birth being successful and positive, it was. There were a few moments in the hospital that I really did not like, but I think you get that with like any experience in general. And I think the key to me feeling relatively okay with what happened and the whole experience was that I asked a lot of questions. I went into it feeling like I could make all the decisions, like though these were recommendations and though many of the midwives and doctors were very pushy with what they recommend, I didn't feel like I was backed into a corner at any point. And yeah, I felt like I made well-informed choices and I weighed out my choices. And I feel like that feeling is what makes it a positive birth story. It's feeling like you had a say and that you exercised your choices, your right to choice, and all of this. I do have ways that I'm planning to do it differently the second time around in order to have my home birth. Cholestasis is not something you can really prevent. It's mostly genetic, from what I understand. But I mean, it does affect the liver. So, oh, I forgot to say that if you have it once, you will probably have it a second time. Like it's very, very likely for every birth. So, because it is genetic. So, yeah, for my next pregnancy, I will be drinking lots of lemon water and like doing all the herbal things to help my liver function. And hopefully, the next time around, my bile acids don't go as high. Um, and I will be able to get my home birth or non-medicated birth or vaginal birth, any part of my birth plan for this first baby. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, if you are, unfortunately, my camera has died, so I've had to switch to my phone for my outro, but that's okay. I'm still getting used to returning to YouTube. If you are also about to have your first baby and I don't know, maybe you have a way of how you want it to go, or yeah, maybe you have a vision for how you want it to go. That is so beautiful. And I do believe in the art of manifestation. And I really hope that you are able to manifest the birth that you want for maybe this birth, maybe another birth. But I do, if I could recommend anything to every person giving birth, it would be to be prepared. Um, I wasn't prepared. I was blindly going into it, um, with my birth plan and being like, this is my birth plan, and this is this is what will happen. Um, and it just wasn't the case. And I'm so grateful that I had my doula and my husband around to make me feel good about the choices I did end up making. And I wish that for you as well. And I wish for you to be informed, and I wish for you to be prepared. And it is like a beautiful journey, no matter what, though you might not see it in the moment, and you might not even see it like after. As I said, it took me a year to make this video. But at some point in life, you will, I think. It will all make sense down the line. And yeah, for me, it was learning to become less afraid of the unknown and less afraid of the things that I created all of these fears around. That being induction and hospitals and C-sections and epidurals. These were all things that I was massively, massively scared of. And now I'm just not scared of them at all. They were not only positive experiences, but pleasant ones almost. And in a lot of ways, I think easier experiences. And so, yeah, for my future births, I won't be scared of those directions and those outcomes and those choices to be made, though I will still aim for the one that I want. And I wish that for you too. I wish that outlook for, anything in life, really. That you'll be able to handle whatever comes your way, and that you'll be able to make decisions that empower you, and that you'll feel good and gentle towards yourself as you reflect on those choices and experiences. So, yeah, that was my birth story, and welcome to my channel. I hope that that was interesting, and I hope that you take something from it. My baby seems to have gone out for a walk with my husband. I can't hear them in here anymore. So I'm going to go out and follow them and see. It looks like a nice sunny day in London, which is very, very rare, as they say. Yeah, I'm going to go bask in the sun. Mwah! Thanks for watching.